to greet Ian Botham. What a sight, coming out to bat with a score at 572 for 4.
And again, this is a pretty good shot. Didn't quite get over it, hit it very hard. And mid-wicket there, Wood dive into his left. That was a fine catch.
What about that? That is quite incredible. Quite incredible. First ball, bunk for 6.
And he's decided to get his eye in there, straight into the pavilion. Incredible, really. A ball of McDermott's pace, and the first ball goes straight in the pavilion.
And there's another one. 6 more to follow. This is absolutely incredible.
Well, he obviously got his eye in with that first 6, because that went about another 10 or 15 yards farther than the first one. But what a perfect finish. Complete follow through. And 2 marvellous big 6s out of the first 3 balls received.
He's pressed that away on the leg side this time. Six-6-4. What a way to greet the premier fast bowler on the opposition side. And that's another great hoik out to deep square. And has been beautifully taken. What a good catch that was. So Botham sacrificing his innings to try and push the score along, but tremendous catch out there by Jeff Thomson. Not an easy one. Hit high, swirling away. And McDermott is delighted that somebody's finally grabbed a good catch off him. So disappointment of the crowd, but Botham unselfishly not worried about averages. He's come there to get some quick runs. He got 18, as you can see quickly. 2 6s and a 4 in it, and fell to that catch. A deep square leg boundary.
It's 1985. I'm
Right.
taking you back to 1985.
Right,
Australia is touring England,
right.
and it's the 4th test which is happening in Edgbaston, Birmingham,
Okay,
and it's the 4th day of the 3rd test.
okay.
So Ian Botham is coming down 4 down. Ian Botham is coming 4 down, and he's walking to the field. Like no helmet, nothing. Like, you know, even abdomen guard is very difficult to make out whether he really wore it. We could see the pads and the gloves.
Yes.
He swings the bat, comes out,
Right,
and the way he plays that particular innings of his.
right.
See, he stays on the crease for 11 minutes, around 11 minutes, and he faces 7 balls, and he scores 18 runs in that.
Okay.
It comprises of 2 6s
Right.
and 1 4,
Okay.
which brings his strike rate to around 257.
Right.
All right,
Right.
and subsequently gets out, and then for 585 or for 594 5 they declare
Right.
one of the score,
Right.
and Australia comes to bat for their second innings,
Okay.
and they are bowled out, and England wins by an innings.
Wins the match. Okay.
So I think you also will be remembering that
I
match.
have yes. 1985. Yes, memories go back to that match. Yes.
Yes.
Huh.
So basically, you know what happened is McDermott was the one who bowled Ian Botham out.
Okay. he
Thompson
was,
caught him in the boundary.
Okay.
I think it was deep leg where he was caught.
Okay.
Near the boundary.
Near the boundary. Okay. Okay.
But the thing is, it was a home crowd.
Okay.
Was one thing, and second thing is people are cheering. I mean cheering.
Right.
A
Right.
lot actually.
Right.
England had a lot of support,
Right.
and Ian Botham was in a form that time. He was one of the peak.
He was one of the
performers.
finest all-rounders. Yes.
So he basically, what happened is he got a lot. I mean, there were a lot of banners
Right.
As big banners they used to scribble and the audience used to hold it, right? So they say strike him for a 6 and make him for a 4, like that animal spirit
Yes.
was in the audience.
Yes.
And there was one very interesting poster which read, Conan the Destroyer, there is one movie. Those
I've
days
heard
that
of
was
it.
very famous.
It was quite a famous thing.
So
Yes.
Conan, they added one I, they made it Conan for Iron Bottom.
For
Conan the Destroyer. Like that,
Okay.
somebody held a banner in the, what do you call the stands.
Thanks.
And first ball, so Iron Bottom comes and the first ball itself he goes takes it for a 6.
Okay.
Second ball again he hits it for a 6.
Hmm.
And this basically, the crowd is basically going mad. Okay. And what is happening there is when he gets caught by Thompson, Thompson gives a middle finger to the crowd. Okay.
Okay. Huh.
But the crowd doesn't mind.
Right.
Crowd doesn't mind.
Huh.
It's an English crowd. It's a
an
gentleman's
English
crowd, so crowd doesn't mind. But the Aussies are aggressive, right? Always.
Yes, they are.
They are
They
the
are by-
fathers of sledging.
Yes. By
As
nature,
we-
they are very aggressive.
Yes. So basically, he gives a middle finger to them and he runs towards the center of the field to congratulate the bowler, McDermott. Okay. And more interestingly, sir,
Huh.
of course, England goes on to win by an
Win
innings.
the match. Right.
The commentators,
Huh.
I did some research. Who are the commentators?
Okay.
So it was Laker, Bernard, Illingsworth, and Peter West. These were the 4
Okay.
people who commented for the test.
Jim Laker. Okay.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Now the thing is, their voice was magic. There was some magic in their commentary. The way that commentary is done, it feels as if the commentators are the ones who are
Actually involved
controlling
in
the game.
Controlling
It was
the
so
game.
fantastic. It was somehow out of the world commentary. It was so entertaining. Probably the reason for that was because they were having radio commentary background.
Yes.
Because there you need to be highly so forthcoming and imaginative
Forthcoming
or
and,
creative,
creative as well. Correct.
so that the picture is conveyed to the audience, to the
audience.
listeners,
Exactly.
the radio audience.
Right.
So, in fact, recently what happened is that particular inning, the 2 sixes and 1 4 and Botham getting out and Thompson flipping to the crowd. All this is basically, that video is there in the ESPN YouTube channel.
YouTube
it's a
channel.
2-minute channel. I mean 2-minute video. I
Right.
think it's available. You will be able to see it.
Right.
So I would like to know, I mean, what are your fond memories of that Australian tour? Do you remember anything or do you follow it? You must have been a young man at that time.
Yes. Like back those days, if I would take my memory, I mean, not much of an facility was there to really watch a cricket match as such, because probably then the TV wouldn't have come. But as you said, 1985, there was a little bit of television and all which had already come. And,
Yes, in 82 Asian Games, thanks to Indira Gandhi ji,
Yes.
TV was introduced. in
TV
India.
was introduced there.
Of course, TV as an equipment could be purchased, but you need somebody to broadcast signals, right?
Absolutely.
That is what I'm saying.
No, absolutely.
So,
That is
Doordarshan
where
was,
I agree with you.
As a part of 82 Asian Games, I think it was launched.
Yes.
So in 85, of course, TV was there, but not all households might have had it.
Yes.
Okay, that's part of history anyway, it's a detour. But generally, what's your feeling about that era of players? Because if you see, Iron Botham was at his peak. He was a young man and he had flowing hairs. He came out into the field like a lion. And his hairs were like flowing like a lion's mane.
Yes, yes.
That was and the cheer that he got from the crowd was unbelievable.
No, I would.
So how do you reminiscence those days and
No, those days it was absolutely fabulous, because not only if you had an opportunity to watch any match, it was nothing like that. And of course, I even feel privileged that those days I could even watch the 1983 World Cup final as well. But coming back to Ian Botham and players of his era, I have absolutely no words to tell about them. He was one of the finest all-rounders I have ever seen. And as you rightly put, his body language whenever he would enter the field was so magnanimous that it would really inspire not only the players. I think even the players would have been inspired to see him walk and bat. Even viewers, for example, you take me. I was always inspired by 4 people in cricket when I was a child, and I followed them already. And I always used to follow them also. One amongst them definitely was Ian Botham. The second was Malcolm Marshall. The third was Imran Khan. And of course, our legendary Kapil Dev.
Oh yes, Kapil Dev is ultimate.
So nothing to beat these 4 all-rounders.
True.
And Botham, yes, of course, I would say he leads the list. Because, and even not only as a player, later on when I think probably if you had an opportunity to listen him do commentary, I think he was one of the most professional commentator, I would say, because he would touch upon the subject very precisely. And though he had a sense of humor, a little bit of sense of humor, but still he would focus on the core aspects of cricket, the technicalities involved. And as you rightly said, the way he would play and the amount of striking power which he had, I think few people after him matched. Till that time when that era ended, I would say. So yes, I have my high respects for both of them.
So you say that he's a gentleman player. He's a thorough gentleman on the field.
Not exactly.
It's a gentleman's game as it has been known, right?
Yes, cricket was known as a gentleman's game, I would say.
So how was he compared to
I would say not exactly that gentlemanly or something like that, but he was an attacking player. So he would, like any other test match player or anything, he wouldn't treat any ball on its merit or anything. But if it had to be hit, if it was there to be hit, then I think he had that phenomenal power to put it across the boundaries in no time.
Sir, I really appreciate you because
Yeah.
you came through very warmly about your test cricketing memories.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and now I come to the hot topic of today. I mean,
Absolutely.
we are diving into it now.
Absolutely.
See, what happened in the recent past, that is a couple of weeks back, I happened to come across this clip which shows Ian Botham whacking the ball, first ball for a 6 and then getting out, and Thompson flipping to the crowd and all that. 2-minute video. And I shared it with some people in WhatsApp, in my group. So several of our age people, they appreciated, they really gave a thumbs up, like it was a nostalgia for them. So they appreciated it. But the one feedback I got from a young chap, I mean, one younger guy who basically is like half or 25 something guy. So he came back with some very comprehensive feedback about me sharing. Of course, that was my sharing that video was just a trigger.
Right.
But ultimately what he did,
Right.
he seemed to tear apart test cricket as a format. So he has given some pointers. So I just thought we should basically discuss those pointers and revalidate where people should stand today, or what is the general take on that.
Absolutely. No worries. We'll take it.
So see, the first thing he says is, he says, I basically am not a fan of test cricket because he has never seen test cricket.
He hasn't
maybe.
seen.
Okay. So
Okay.
he is not to blame for that.
Right. Absolutely.
Nowadays that format is not being played much, and I can't even remember when was the last test match played.
Right.
Do you remember?
As early as the last
As
series.
recently as you mean.
As recently as the last series between England and Australia, which just ended before the IPL began. So that was the last test.
Okay, good. I can't even remember when I last encountered test cricket. Anyways,
That's all right.
it's a matter of interest maybe.
Yeah.
But the point is here, sir, what he's saying, he is a fan of this T20 format. He's a big fan. So he has come to his defense.
Yes.
So that is the reason why we are having this chat today.
No problem. Yes.
What he is saying is, number one, T20 is should not be treated like a great grandchild of test cricket. What he is saying, T20 is a totally different beast. It is you would rather say that it's a different sport itself. Although the cricket bat and the ball is involved and all the equipment and accessories are involved, but for all practical purposes, that is a totally different game itself. That's what he's trying to argue. So he says fallacy that people of your generation make, that is us people of our generation make, is that we always try to basically correlate First came Test, then came the ODI, the 50 over, then it became day-night match, then colors came. That's the evolution, right? Then came the T20.
Yes.
Then it's even went to six-a-side.
Yes.
That
yes.
also come, but that's not picked up
10
much.
aside is there. Yes. Super sixes. was
Super.
there.
So
Yes.
he says now the T20 format, which is followed by IPL, is the ideal format, which basically maps to a soccer game or a football. Okay, that's a different. That is one analogy. But what he is saying is, you should not consider this as a great grandchild of Test cricket. Both are cricket, but it's not that this is totally having some correlation to that kind of what do you call mindset. Our generation people should give up is what he's telling. So what is your take on this?
Okay. Yes, I appreciate his thoughts actually, because as he rightly says, T20 cricket is a slam bang variety, and it has a totally different dimension attached to it as far as Test cricket is concerned. Because Test cricket, it involved more of a technical look into the game. Actually, probably when even one would even start playing cricket for the first time, I think even the coaching books would tell him how to hold a bat first, even before he learns how to swing it. For example, if you hold a bat, like if you hold it, there is something called as a stance and everything as to how you hold it. And then later on, you learn how to swing it, whether you want to swing it haphazardly or whether you want to, have a straight drive or a cover drive. What are many different shots which are there in the coaching manuals. So, Test cricket was the origin of cricket, I would say. But I would always respect the young gentleman's thought that today Test cricket doesn't have that much of a fanfare as much as a T20 has. One reason I would attribute that is to the sheer glamour which T20 accompanies.
We
with.
will come to that point, sir.
Later. Okay.
We'll
fine,
come to that.
Fine.
But do you have anything to say? I mean, I just wanted to check whether you have anything to in defense of Test cricket.
Not really.
Or do you have any rebuttal to the statement, which in principle
Oh,
says
you mean
that,
to say the grandchild part of it?
that there is no relation and these are two different things altogether.
Yes, I would
Do you
agree.
agree?
Yes, these two are definitely different things, but two different parts of cricket, I would say. Like
Now we'll come to the pros and cons of each format.
Yes.
But you agree to the fact that
Yes,
it is not.
this is a different part.
That's the way we should look at it.
Yes,
and have you grandchild
no,
of
no,
Test
no,
cricket?
no, because I would never put it as any great grandchild or anything, but I would definitely see it as a different form of the game altogether. I would see Test cricket in one certain level. I would see one day cricket in one certain level, and T20 cricket in one certain level. Because even if you, for example, compare between a 50-over game and a 20-over game, there is a lot of difference. So Test cricket was much earlier than that. So obviously, I agree with that young gentleman that this is a different format. That is a different format.
Thanks. Actually, he has given so many points I couldn't memorize, so I just noted it down.
No problem.
So I'm going through the list.
Sure, absolutely.
See, the thing that he is telling is there are 4 points he has brought out.
Right.
That is in support of T20.
Okay.
He says one is duration. T20 has an advantage of duration. It lasts on average for 3 hours.
It does.
Whereas the Test cricket lasts for 5 days.
5 days. Yes.
Now, second thing what he says is when it comes to results, T20 is highly result oriented.
It is.
Whereas in case of Test cricket, it could end up in a tie or a draw, and it could be like
anything else.
so many
could be
things.
abandoned.
Also,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
those are possibilities.
Yes.
And the third thing what he's saying is this innings concept. Total of you have to cycle through 4 innings in a test match.
Yes.
Whereas here there is no concept of innings.
Yes.
And the fourth point he's trying to tell is regarding the style. What he means by style is the format of the game changes the way the style of playing.
Yes.
As an example, he says if you take bowlers, so in T20 they have to be defensive, they have to be tight, they cannot be attacking.
They have to.
Example he has given.
Yes.
So these 3 points or these 4 points, they weigh heavily in favor of a T20 today. When people are having a lack of time and they want results, and what do you call, innings basically can impact the results also. So it's all correlated. So I mean, and the amount of the stamina or the health, I mean, what do you call the strength that the player has to have for playing a test. And I mean, he says that what he's saying, like test is like a marathon, whereas T20 is like a sprint.
Like a sprint, right.
You know,
right.
you want, you build up what do you call momentum
Yes.
in the audience, and finally within the 10 seconds, the 100 meters is over.
Is over, yes.
Something similar to that is what he's saying.
Trying to correlate it.
So these are the four arguments in favor of T20. What he's saying. One is duration. It is 3 hours is a manageable duration in today's time when people don't have any time anymore.
Yes.
For whatever the reason.
Yes.
Second is basically it's result oriented. T20 definitely comes out to the result no matter what.
It does.
Third is there is no innings concept, and fourth is the style. The style, because it is batting is aggressive and bowling is defensive, it's much more entertaining. That's what he's saying. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you completely agree to it, or do you have anything to say?
No, I agree to it more or less, because the points which he has brought in comparatively to a test cricket in today's generation is very true, because today it is such a fast-paced life, and even if somebody would like to relax somewhere with a good game, or may it be a soccer sport or a cricket sport or anything which has a shorter duration, because people do evaluate time with money also these days. So it is not that today's generation will like to spend hours and hours sitting before a television set and watching something in anticipation of a result which would happen in the case of test cricket years ago. So I would definitely agree with him that today with the T20 you have more excitement because you have a result in mind, and the way the game has changed over the years, obviously it puts you, even I have seen even people who are erstwhile lovers of test cricket also change over to the one day variety, because the amount of excitement it gets, that is one thing, and the way it has changed the behavior of cricket lovers within his own family circle, I would say. Because for example, I have a family where my father and my mother and everybody else is a test lover, though me and my father were also liking test cricket. But after seeing the excitement of the next generation, probably my children, who would love one day cricket only for its sheer excitement value which it gets, maybe yes, I will also be easily driven towards that, because I know that I can balance my time. Erstwhile, even though I love test cricket, but it was not that sort of a fast-paced life as it is today. So I would give myself time, okay, relax, let us enjoy cricket for the day and let's see how things go after that. But today it is not like that. And today T20 cricket balances both in a beautiful way. So I would agree to him.
So there is one related question to this point, sir, from my side.
Yes.
See, suppose the test is being relayed, live relay is happening. Is it really healthy to sit 8 hours or 9 hours in front of the TV and for 5 days? Doesn't it impact the eyes?
No, not only eyes, because it also, I would say, it might make you feel a little bit defocused between your other responsibilities in life. So it could be anything for that matter. I would always say that as a cricket lover, I would always envision to bring some more changes to test cricket also, so that it is made more exciting. So definitely for 5 days, I think it looks a little bit more than what is required in today's circumstances. And one day cricket and T20 cricket has definitely brought in a lot of changes. So I would agree with the gentleman that being result oriented and being a short duration oriented game, this draws in more attention absolutely than what test cricket would have drawn in today's circumstances.
The next point is something called vibrancy.
Right.
So like your cheerleaders in T20, it is more colorful and it's more partisan. That means, the audience are basically really much more split, divided. Right? Especially when it comes to IPL, T20 implementation in IPL, especially when it comes to IPL, this is from an IPL perspective. That gives a whole new level of experience to the audience or the spectators compared to test. So, entertainment quotient in T20 or an IPL, T20 West IPL is much more than.
Yes, it is. It is. I would agree with him there as well, because erstwhile era when you would see a test match being played, even the type of crowd who were involved in coming to the stadium were all of the same type of mindset. Like for example, they would come there and they would also analyze the game from technical perspectives. So they would even for example, if a Jeffrey Boycott or somebody like a David Boone or somebody like that, or an Alan Border initially, or a Sunil Gavaskar, for example, if they would come to see the test match, it would only be because the particular person was playing. And even if the person would have stayed for 1 day or 2 days or something like that, then they would continue to see it because there is still a Sunil Gavaskar or a Jeffrey Boycott playing.
Yes.
So, basically that concept was changed completely when a Viv Richards came, for example. Even if you have had an opportunity to see Viv Richards back, you would agree that though he would play test cricket, he would give due credit to test cricket the way it has to be played also, but he was a absolutely attacking player, and when there was an opportunity to hit, just like Ian Botham for that matter, he would hit. That was changed to a lot of extent by these type of players who came in at a later stage. So yes, of course, as far as the point which you brought in right now goes, yes.
Vibrancy is more from the point of view of color and anthem and noise making and all this cheerleader kind of things, sir.
Yes, I was
Supporting
coming to
aspects,
that.
yeah.
Yes. For example, even if you would have had the same sort of arrangement in a test match, I wouldn't say that it would have completely worked, because there would have been 6 sixes hit on each and every delivery.
Right.
But today what happens is, that is an additional quotient in IPL from not only from a glamour point of view, but various other aspects also are involved in it. It is business promotion, it is branding, and finally it comes up to commercializing the game. So cricket is one of the most commercialized game, I would say, today, and those days it was more of technical aspects to cricket, whereas today it is trying to make the maximum amount of business out of the game. So that's how it correlates, and that's how people are drawn to them into the stadium only because of these sort of things, that there is a celebrity coming and waving at you at the crowd or something. Like those days also celebrities would come, probably celebrities of that time, but they were not noticed in the crowd due to the focus on test cricket and due to the technicalities. So those days it was such that even for example, if a Gavaskar hits a straight drive, people would go to the extent of finding out how he held his bat and what was his footwork and all. But today those things are not considered because result is the ultimatum. You just hold the bat any way you want.
Sir. Yeah, that is one of the points.
Yeah, I was just coming to that.
Yeah.
So yes, glamour quotient is attached to it, because yes, I do agree. Today's generation, they are they are more excited about things happening around the game also, not only in the game. So I agree, yes, T20 has changed everything, and it's more of a vibrant type of cricket.
How about this day-night format and the night-time game, sir? Are you in favor of that?
I am, to a certain extent, because it has changed the interest level of cricket. Because erstwhile days there were day games also. But just to bring in some difference, for example, a colored clothing or a white ball, and that has now gone to a pink ball also. So it adds some extra bit of charm, and it can help you identify the players of the teams. The erstwhile there were no jerseys and all, and there was no name displayed or anything like that. There were no logos and all those things. So yeah, day-night cricket has changed a lot, and it has brought in more excitement to the game of cricket. But I would feel that it should be mixed. Like it should not be only a day-night game, because again you might lose interest. It should be a mix with a day game and a day-night game, so that you have that excitement going and you keep guessing what the next factor or next happening or event is coming. So yes, day-night game has improved cricket a lot. That's what I would say.
Sir, coming to field restrictions, that's one point. So there is no field restriction in test, whereas in T20 there is field restrictions.
Yes,
no?
yes.
So it is said that adds to the entertainment quotient of the game and also impacts the results. So do you agree to that?
Field restrictions, yes, it does. Because the way T20 is now organized and designed, it is keeping in mind to get the maximum challenge out of the game in such. And it should challenge the players not only from the batting side, also on the bowling side as well. So field restrictions, yes, it does have a lot of impact on the final result of the game.
Entertainment quotient?
Entertainment.
Field restrictions also give rise to more engagement, no, from the audience, because more boundaries and the batsman is able to take more risk because of field restrictions. So it improves the entertainment quotient,
it does,
right?
It does. It improves the entertainment quotient. Yes, definitely.
Whereas such a thing is not there in the test.
It is not there. It is not there in the test cricket. I agree with him. Because field restrictions, it again allows the team which is batting first to plan its strategy, because it always knows that after 6 overs you have an opportunity to try to improve the scoring rate or something like that, because that is considering the nature of the T20 game in such. Yes, field restrictions is another point which really adds to the excitement value. I go with it.
Another point he has raised is regarding compatibility of players. He says once a player gets tuned to T20 format, that is pinch hitting format, hard hitting, then it's not easily possible for him to switch back to a test format and vice versa. A test player cannot come and play a T20. He's saying. That is his saying. So maybe he's suggesting that we should have separate teams for tests and separate for T20. Would you agree to that kind of ideology or thought?
I would. I mean, that's a good point to make, because not only from the point of having a different team, there are already countries which are having different set of captains itself for each format of the game. For example, England and Australia tried it and they've been quite successful. So they have a different captain for test match, different captain for one-dayers and different captain for T20. Yes, of course, it would be a good suggestion that there should be a good set of players which are identified for a test match level. You take Cheteshwar Pujara, for example. He is an out-and-out test match player, but I have not seen him in the scheme of things for either a one-day game or a T20 game. But certain people are identified for only one particular format. But as long as your bench strength is good, I think it is good to have that point. But for that, you need to improve your domestic level of cricket, which again is, it's a part of a test cricket itself, I would say. Not exactly a part. Probably a Ranji Trophy game which has a 2-day game or a 3-day game as a practice game, which normally happens for visiting teams to any countries. So if you want to identify different players and if you want to have a strong and conducive bench strength, I think again you need to go back to that level where you can identify based on their skill sets. So for test match, as I said earlier, you have a different skill set wherein you need a lot of focus, a lot of concentration. And for one day and T20, you need to have that attacking mindset as well, along with trying to be patient. So probably a domestic setup, if it is improved to a large scale, I think it will be able to help you to find out more players where you can distinguish between all these three formats.
But the point is making about incompatibility is actually to strengthen his first argument, where he says this is not a great grandchild. Anyway, just I want to tell you that.
I mean,
see, as long as people are going to keep that mindset that it's a great. See, for example, you clearly said that you agree to him it's a separate format.
It is a separate format.
But our BCCI may not be still in that mindset. They may feel the same, Kohli in test match also, right? So this incompatibility is something which he says is a handicap when it comes to playing two different formats of game or two different games.
It does. I agree with him. But otherwise, how are you going to build a test team if you want to focus?
It is. Do you agree to the fact that it's incompatible and?
Yes.
That's a starting point, no? Some agreement has to be there. Backward incompatibility. That means.
You mean to say that
switching from one format to another is not so easy, and especially when nowadays you play so much of one format, the other format, it will be very difficult to really.
It might
Because it's not
not
only
be-
physical fitness, no, it's about mental fitness also.
No, yes, it is not easy. I would agree.
Playing for 3 hours in the, and going back on playing for 5 days at
No,
40,
I would
50
agree,
hours.
but you also have to keep in mind one thing, because even if the same players were brought into T20 earlier, they were evaluated only from a test match point of view, that whether they are fit for a T20 game or not. So, like before a Kohli or before a Dhoni or anybody came to the T20 format, they would play test cricket because they have been identified as a player after they could prove themselves in test cricket. And only then probably they were given some amount of chances. There were many players who were test players who didn't succeed in T20 level. That is also there. There have been umpteen number of players that who were fit only for one type of a cricket format. So what I would say is, as a cricketer in general, you should be in a position to adapt to any format. Maybe you may not succeed initially, but probably the aura associated with the T20 game might even transform a test player into a T20 player. At the same time, if a T20 player is required to go and prove himself at the highest level of test cricket, he might even able to learn a bit more on the technicalities version of the game, which is associated more with test cricket, and he might even able to contribute in the test team also, I would say. So today there are a lot of players like, for example, Devdutt Padikkal and all those things who have come in IPL and who are identified as slam bang players. They should also have that quality as a cricketer first. I mean, later on it is into a T20 or a one-day player or a test player. As a cricketer, I would say they should have that ability to adapt to any format, so that whenever there is a need for them to contribute, I think it should not be that difficult for a cricketer in general to change guard, like from a T20 go back to a one-day, or from a one-day you go back to a test cricket. I don't think it should be that difficult, according to me, to change guard and change formats.
Sir, the next point what he is saying is regarding accessories as appeals or apparels, or how do you want to pronounce it? Accessories as
Apparels.
apparels. As apparels, not and, it is as. What he is trying to say today, because the cameras are so good, they can zoom into the so much, right?
Yes.
So what sort of shoes a player is wearing, what
Yes,
brand shoe is wearing,
Yes.
what sort of gloves he is wearing,
Yes.
what sort of guards, this thigh guard, elbow guard,
Yes.
so many, helmet, and what other, so many guards, right? There is a guard here also behind, for skull or skull
There is,
guard or
there is,
whatever,
there is,
right?
there
So
is.
many.
Yes.
So when he's fully decked up, when a player is fully decked up, he looks more aggressive, professional, and more, he means business kind of thing. And today that entire detail is also possible to be seen in the camera, because the cameras have improved, technology has improved.
Technology has improved, yes, yes.
So that is how he says the olden format, like Nayan Botham just walks in, flaunting his hair and without anything, right? A helmet or nothing also. That appeal aspect is totally gone. That's not there in the tests. White and white they play. What do you call, those players, the olden days, maybe now they have that helmet and all,
Right.
but olden days they, like Gavaskar never wore
never
helmet,
wear a
right?
helmet, yes,
Only
yes.
skull cap he
had his
holds a
own,
record for that.
He had his own well-designed skull cap, and even Vivian Richards, for that matter, he has never worn a helmet,
Right.
and he had his own West Indian cap.
Yeah, but today a helmet is basically also carrying some brand value, right? Sponsorship or a flag of the India, the national flag. So it creates some kind of the emblem of the team for which they are playing. So it creates much more pump, right, for the game and for the spectators, and the person who wears it also, he gets more connected to it. Those kind of things are not there in test. So it is not much more entertaining or engaging, is what he is saying. You agree to it?
No, I would definitely say yes, because it is, as a lover of cricket myself, it is not very much engaging for me itself to sit and watch a test match for 5 days. But if you really want to watch a cricket match from the cricket perspective, I would say a cricket perspective again is, if I go back to the technicalities of the game, because T20 it doesn't really revolve around any technicalities. Nobody will expect you.
Yes,
expect
that
you
is the
to,
point.
No,
I'm coming to that
you are
actually.
coming to it later.
I'm coming to that, but
Okay.
now we are only talking about accessories as appeals.
Okay. Yes, these days there are a lot of things where, as you rightly said, which can go and identify a player, or even his uniforms, or even his equipment which he carries onto the field in a better way. Erstwhile it was not there, because erstwhile the game also was played with a particular mindset. So obviously,
But sir, if you take, for example, the 85 match,
Yeah.
which you opened the discussion with,
Yeah.
so that was the time when helmets were already there.
there
But
were.
Ian Botham decided not to wear it.
Um,
Okay, he looked very, what do you call, very appealing, or whatever you want to say, glamorous or whatever. But end of day, see today, the way people see it, the younger generation sees it, a player should be completely decked up.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
He cannot opt to say, I will not wear helmet. That days are gone.
hmm.
Because it's like going for a war, right?
Right, right.
If you see in the Japanese warriors, no,
Right.
they used to completely deck up like anything, the samurai warriors.
Right.
Like that today it's become a kind of an image.
Right.
The way you deck up, or the way you basically accessorize yourself projects the power.
Right. Right.
So the younger generation is much identifying with that.
Yes.
That is missing in the test format and the olden days.
It was.
Do you agree? I mean, that this really.
Yes, it was. Of course, it definitely was missing, because I feel
See, for example, even though you are facing somebody at C grade bowler,
Yeah.
but if you wear the helmet, no, it shows that you mean business, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So that is what the seriousness, because that is that's the part of being professional, right? See, if you want to now wear it's the same as riding bike.
Right.
The rule is there, helmet you have to wear. But
Right.
if you don't wear helmet and go, it looks cheap. Actually, you don't. It's not that you look like a hero by breaking the rule. Yes or no? Taking the example of riding a bike.
Yes, yes. Then it's.
Helmet, if you wear,
Yes.
if you wear a nice helmet, people feel okay. This guy is much more serious and law-abiding. We should not mess with him, right?
Right.
Same
right.
way, when you put the right accessories and get into the field, everybody will look at you in a different way, isn't it?
Yes, I would agree with him, but that again.
Because
you
your
know,
appearance, see, the quintessential argument here is your appearance matters a lot, even for the audience, not only your opponents.
No, it
Even
does.
your audience actually look at you in a different light when you are fully accessorized.
It does. It does. I mean, but
That's the same case even in business meetings, right? When you go to a business meeting, if you are in a suit and tie, you are given more attention and
it does. It does.
place. That's the argument is giving here, right? Do you agree to it or no?
No, I agree to it. But at the same time, there is something called as a climatic condition which is attached to a game also. Because as far as players are concerned, you should also give them flexibility to even feel a bit relaxed if they would like to feel relaxed during the process of a game, whether it is test match or a one-day cricket or a T20 cricket. Because these days, cricket is played under a lot of varying weather conditions also. And of course, if we are comparing about...
No, weather is one part, sir. We'll come to the weather, that's the point.
Hmm.
But what I am saying, so I am a very big fan of Ian Botham.
Right.
So I will be worried if he goes to the field without a helmet. As an audience and as a fan of Ian Botham, I'll be worried if he walks into the, because he might get injured, or a ball might hit his head and he may get grounded.
Yes.
Or he may even pass off, who knows.
Yes,
That has
yes.
happened, right?
Yes, it
For
has.
so many people on the field.
It has happened. It has
So
happened.
the question what I'm saying here is, not only from safety perspective, from a brand appeal perspective or a image perspective, it definitely matters that a person should be fully accessorized when he gets to the field.
It should. Yeah.
So you agree to it?
I agree to it. As much as possible, he should
So it's
do
not a question of of course Ian Botham is, see, what has happened is happened, but what I'm saying in retrospect.
it. Yes.
Today, if he does the same thing, I don't know whether it's acceptable. People, because I'll tell you one thing, even insurance has come into this game. Like Pele's, Diego Maradona's foot was insured for $1 million, if you remember, during one of the World Cups when we were, around before 2000. When Maradona was the captain of Argentina, right? His foot was insured for $1 million. So today the stakes have changed. So if players, whether they like it or not, they have to put, right?
They have to.
So the question of weather or a climate doesn't really come into picture.
No.
If you are going into the field, you should be ready to wear the
I'm just
accessory.
telling that it should not be the point which is applicable to this, but I would say that flexibility should be given is what I mean to say.
See, player
Because
not being comfortable is not a valid argument, you know what I'm saying?
No. What I'm saying, other thing is, you would have observed in a cricket match that generally people either remove a helmet or whatever it is based on the type of bowler who is bowling. So generally, as I have seen, whenever there is a spinner bowling, generally people would like to, remove a helmet because probably he might not be as threatening as a pace bowler is.
But
so
sir,
that
you tell me
amount
one
of
thing.
flexibility should be given to a player is what I'm meaning. It's not that.
See, that is possible in Test cricket.
No, even in one day cricket.
In T20, is it possible for you
It is possible.
But
Because,
why would you?
Why not?
Totally 1.5 hours, sir. It's not going to really bother you, right?
No, why not? Because see, suppose.
Okay, anyway, leave it.
No,
See,
suppose.
the point
what I'm saying is, let me complete this. Suppose you have only 4 pace bowlers in your team and you don't have a spinner at all, or if you have on the other side, if you have only 4 spinners in your team, probably I would definitely agree with you that you should go all decked up and everything, and all those things is all right, even if it is a 1 hour game or anything like that. But my point is that throughout the duration of the game, there should not be something that he has to wear a helmet and play.
Sir, I will,
is what I'm trying to tell you.
So I will just ask you one thing.
Yeah, please.
So see, is it actually better to go fully decked up to the field or not?
It is.
That's all I want to ask
It is. I am agreeing with you.
I am not talking about how long the player stands on the crease
Okay.
and whether he's feeling uncomfortable, comfortable. See, that the argument doesn't hold water to me personally, because
Okay.
once you have agreed to sign the contract and you are going to play, you should deal with all that comes with it. You cannot say, no, I want to, there's no option, right?
No, I am just telling that flexibility should be given, and if it is given, it is good. That's it.
No. Here, this point was not about giving flexibility. It was about the engagement quotient due to acceleration. If you wear all the accessories and if you go in a proper way, you look much more,
Much more complete is what you
attention
say.
worthy,
So
and
much more
everybody
complete.
will, the way people will see you and opponents will treat you and the
Yeah.
spectators will say, everything is different. You agree to that
Yeah,
point?
I agree to that.
That's what the other point.
I agree to that.
See, next point was regarding the weather.
Right.
So he says, test match results can be varied by weather.
Yes,
Whereas the
it
T20, because it is so small, 3 hours average, most probably weather doesn't have an impact. You agree to it?
No, weather does have an impact in T20 also, because even though it's say 1.5 3-hour game or anything like that, if the game is completely washed out due to rain or something like that, then in a very jam-packed tournament where you have only a limited number of time to organize the whole tournament, probably they will just, of course, they will give you a result. But sometimes what happens is, if there is a no result, then there is a point shared amongst the two teams. So weather does have an impact on a T20 game also, because at least in Test cricket you had that opportunity to come back, and whether the result was not, even though teams would play for a definite result was always depending on various factors. So even if it rained one day, then they would play the next day, or even if it rained for a half day, they would try to examine the pitch and find out if it is play worthy and then play. The same thing happens with T20 also, because if it continuously rains for the period of 3 hours, which the game is for duration, then it does impact the result of the game. And in a jam-packed tournament where you have only, for example, you have a 3-nation tournament, a 3-nation T20 tournament, which is distributed over only a week's time or something. So definitely, if the weather is not good, there is every chance that the whole tournament.
So
will be called
anyways,
off.
here he is using the word probability.
Right.
Okay. So he says a test match is much more probable to be disrupted by a weather event compared to a T20.
No, even probability is there for a T20 game also, as I explained.
Yeah. More probability, less probability. Probability is there. Yes or no is not a question. Which is more, which is less?
That's
Higher probability is for test compared to T20.
yes, of course. Test
That's
has
what
more
I-
probability. Yeah.
So next question is related to revenue model, sir.
Right.
So ultimately, the organizers need to make money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
So they say, I mean, he's saying, in case of what do you call in T20, the money, I mean, the money is more on the result rather than on the player's form or name. Whereas in case of Test, no, he says that money is much more dependent on the type of players who are playing and for how long they are in the crease. And I agree to this because I personally I've done some research on this, and I know even Gavaskar having advised Sachin Tendulkar to stay for longer at the crease when tests are played in Bombay, either in Brabourne or Wankhede. And the reason why Gavaskar is to say that is because that is when people, because test matches you can buy tickets per day, not necessarily all the 5 days.
All the 5 days, yes.
So as long as Tendulkar keeps playing, they may come and play, and stand will become full.
Yes.
And that will help the stadium people, organizers, basically.
Right.
So this is definitely, even I have an what do you call knowledge of this.
Yes, of course, but
So,
I agree with you. As a little while earlier in our discussion, I had told that erstwhile people would go to watch a match because of the player who was playing, and in T20 it is more of an entertainment value, irrespective of whoever plays. Yes, but I haven't heard what you have heard. Definitely, you would have heard.
This is something which Kapil Dev has written in his book.
That might be, but I haven't heard about it personally, so I wouldn't like to comment on that. But yes, I would definitely agree with you on the fact that the erstwhile days people would go to watch a test match because a particular type of player was playing or a particular class of player was playing. I agree with you there. That's not an issue.
I mean, that is his point.
Yeah, I mean, whoever it is.
Yeah, and I basically was supporting that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, then he is using some emotional words, so lies, betrayal, fights, hatred, and enmity. These are the 5 emotions he is saying which is associated with any sports. And a sports is deemed to be highly successful or interesting when it turns up all these 5 emotions to as high as possible and divides the crowd. That is lies, betrayal, fights, hatred, enmity. What's your thought? Lies is there because matches we have come across bookies and do fix the match, right?
Yes.
All kinds of fixing
Yes.
that's a lie, right?
Yes. Okay.
No. Betrayal also is part of that.
So what
can
he
say-
says is it increases the. What does he say?
It increases the emotional engagement. See, once you become more emotional, no.
Huh.
See, when suppose you are let's say RCB supporter and I'm CSK supporter, and there's a match between both these people in some neutral venue. We are sitting next to each other. We might end up fighting or punching each other. No?
Okay.
That's the emotional engagement.
Yes, it does. These factors do improve. I mean, not improve as such. I would say these factors do get one involved in a game more. I would agree with that. But personally, I would say that a game should be played without bringing these things as much as possible.
No, because see, this is the fallout of soccer. In football, that happens.
Football that happens.
In football,
yes.
it so much happens
It does.
that even the crowds are kept in separate stands because of this. Otherwise,
seen that. I've
many
seen
people have died because of this.
No, I've seen that.
In
It's,
Europe and even in South America and all, right? You
I've
know
seen
that.
Euro Cup and
So
all
that
those
is
things.
that is what he's talking about. So you agree to it? T20 is leading us towards that level of frenzy.
It does. I agree to it. But personally, I would as much try. I mean, I know it is next to impossible because for various factors which are deep rooted today in many aspects, not only sports. But to avoid this is completely important. What he says. Then I have no other choice
He's
than
not
to
talking
agree.
about avoiding it, sir. He's saying these are the emotions that basically increase the engagement quotient of the game,
No, that is-
entertainment quotient and
It
whatnot.
does.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, we should have tried to, without getting these points into the frame, we could have tried to maintain the sanctity of the game and all those things. But today it is not possible at all to various factors, is what I was about to tell you. That is what I
Yeah,
meant.
there is another point
but,
which is making.
I mean, it's not possible. So I have no other choice than agreeing to him.
Yeah, there's another point he's making.
Yeah.
Just suppose both of us are now, let's say, RCB fans.
Yeah.
And RCB or CSK, again same scenario.
Yeah.
And RCB loses. So we'll be having a lot of feeling. We'll be sharing our sadness and we'll be feeling for each other more.
As fans, yes. we
But
would
this
feel-
feeling,
Huh.
because the format is so tight, in 3 hours everything happens. This feeling is much more. This feeling of bonding or sharing the sorrow is much more in an audience compared to a test match. That's what
It
he
is,
says.
it is.
You agree to it?
I agree. Test match also, yes, of course, we would have, if we were, say, a Karnataka supporter, if we, in a Ranji game, for example, if we were Karnataka supporters and they lost to Maharashtra and all those things. But that would happen over a period of, say, 4 days or 5 days, where even there was a chance to win or something like that. But today, with the shortened version of the game, all this happens so quickly. So, yes, I agree with it.
So next point is making is, of course, T20 does not require in-depth understanding of the game to enjoy. Whereas test match is much more technical. You should know the rules and you should be a rule book by yourself to enjoy, understand and enjoy the game. What's your thought?
Yes, T20 definitely doesn't require any understanding of the game, because like it's just enjoyment and nothing else. Because they don't look at cricket as cricket there. If a hardcore fan and understanding person who really wants to understand cricket in its depth, how it evolved, how the game is actually played with all the technicalities involved, then obviously he would choose a test cricket over a one-day cricket.
Sir, actually, see, this is a very, very interesting point to me, because I will tell you one thing. See, we used to play cricket in the street,
Right.
with ball and whatever is available.
Yes.
And because of the whatever the reason, we used to make our own rules. If you remember,
Yeah, I know.
pitch catch is out.
Yes, I know.
No LBW.
I know. Then there was one. It was
If you-
one bounce catch was also
One
out.
bounce
in the
out. That's
certain-
called pitch
certain-
catch
yeah, pitch
in
catch,
our
okay.
here.
Okay, fine. Right.
If you touch the ball, it's 1 run. Where you could not run, no?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
used to say if you touch it 1 run, if it crosses that line 2 runs. Those kind of.
Those things were there.
So
yeah,
these
yeah.
were the rules which we made on the
Self-made
fly,
rules.
and we did it.
We did it. Yes.
But every game also generally develops like that. See, if you see how cricket started, 100 years, 150, when Lords, right? When it started in England, it was a purely gentleman's game. Nobody even did a 20-step run before daring a pace ball, like Andy Roberts or whoever. And the number of rules are also lesser. But over the years, the rules have increased and increased and increased and increased.
Yes.
It has come to a state now where the common is beyond the comprehension of a common man, Aam Aadmi. So it becomes highly complex to really enjoy the game. This happens in everything, even in art forms. If you start off in at the starting point of some art, it will look quite palpable. But at one point of time, like for example, painting was there. If you take oil painting, paper, whatever, watercolor, it happened. They used to paint the landscapes, trees, nature.
Right.
Now it's gone to modern art, which is very abstract.
Abstract. Yes.
You cannot really understand it anymore.
Correct.
It has got disconnected from the Aam Aadmi.
Correct.
So Test cricket has ended up in that state where the Aam Aadmi cannot really relate to it, because it has become a very complex rule book. It's more like following a process. See, if you are a perfect batsman, then it is more about judging your performance by the rule book rather than. If you are imperfect batsman, they can say he has more scope for improvement. Now suppose Dravid, classic example is Dravid, called the wall. No? When he used to go into the crease, he was a perfect guy. He was a perfect test player. He cannot get a better player than him, batsman.
Yes.
So the only way to really judge him was based on the rules. Right?
Yes.
And if you did not know the rules, you could not enjoy the game. So there's a disconnect from the Aam Aadmi and this game, because it has evolved to such a complex format now. Do you agree to this?
Yes, I agree to it because with the enormous changes which the game of cricket has seen, is over the generations there has been a change in just about everything. There is a change in the type of viewers who used to view it earlier. There is a change in the type of equipments which are used, rules, everything. So I agree to what you say, because definitely there is a disconnect for today's audience as compared to the audience then. Because who would actually go as per the rule book, as you rightly said. But today there is no need of rule book, because
For
again,
T20 you mean?
Yeah, again there is only entertainment quotient which is involved in it. So people really don't bother as to whether you want to reach the ball and you want to find the gaps and all those things, as we used to say in Test cricket earlier days. So today it's all about just results.
Even the field placement, first slip, second slip, third
there
slip,
is nothing
gully,
like that. There is nothing
so
like
many
that.
things.
So
Even those
today's-
terminologies people may not be
Yes,
able to.
there was a leg slip earlier.
Yes,
there was
there
a
was a leg
forward
slip.
shot
Yes,
leg.
yes,
There was
yes.
a silly point.
Yes.
So earlier days we would enjoy even if there were words like an extra cover drive or something like a flick. I
Yes,
would
yes,
say.
yes.
Ravi Shastri used to have a very famous shot which was called as a chapati shot, which only he used to play. Something
Right,
like
right,
this.
right. Now, Azharuddin
Yeah.
was famous for flicks.
Flicks.
Very famous.
So
Very
that
strongest.
day, so those days, even those type of names were given to shots as well. But today it is something like a helicopter shot or a Dhoni uppercut or something like that. Yes, I mean we have to respect the changes which have happened over a period of time.
So it's said that T20 is a batsman biased game. It's a batsman's game, not a bowler's game.
It is
You
a
agree to it?
batsman's- It is a batsman's game.
Whereas testing can be a test match can be a bowler's
Can
game.
be a bowler's game because test match, a bowler has a time to probably present his guile. For example, people like a Bishan Bedi or a Bhagwat Chandrasekhar or who are masters in spinners, they did have that much amount of time to prove their capabilities. But today, no. It's just about containment and nothing else, as you said. Because today, any type of bowler can be hit for a scoring shot. The other day, I was watching a match between RCB and Kings 11 Punjab, where one of the all-time greats of South Africa, Dale Steyn, who normally doesn't come down below the 140 limits, and he was cracked for 24 runs in an over. So that's how it has evolved. But today, and even fresh faces, very fresh young faces, they don't have the fear of facing a world-class bowler today. Like even a Dale Steyn or a Brett Lee or whoever it is, if they bowl to them also, and even a young man like a Shubman Gill or even somebody like a Devdutt Padikkal will have the confidence of facing such world-class bowlers. That's how it has evolved. That's how the mindset has evolved. That we can face any type of bowling, and that too when they have the window to prove themselves in a limited time.
Sir, I have one different take on that.
Yeah.
The point is, if a match is fixed, the result is predetermined, then there's nothing to fear, right? Just hypothetical. Let's assume that a match is fixed. See, you already know what the result is going to be. You go into the field. So you say that bowler, Chaminda, what happened? Malinga. I think that happened sometime back, long back. So if he underperforms or if he doesn't deliver properly, you have nothing to fear, right? Because it's fixed. I'm giving hypothetical. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's say
Yes.
so much of media. The
Yes.
news is
Then
happening.
if there is anything like that, then probably yes.
That
then
could also
everything
be a
becomes
reason for not being fearful or being fearless.
Then if anything like that happens, then everything becomes a formality. Only for the namesake you'll have to play. That's all, and come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next point is IPL is required to save cricket when other sports are gaining popularity in India.
I wouldn't say that IPL is required to save.
Or rather, it's not IPL. I think he meant T20.
No, I wouldn't say that because there are every other possibilities which can be done to save cricket. IPL is not. T20 is not the only source. Why I say this is because today, even in the days of IPL, I have seen test matches in England and Australia being welcomed for all 5 days with 100% crowd in attendance and clapping for each and every delivery, even if it is defended. That is what I have seen. Because as an ardent fan of cricket, I do give some amount of time whenever there is an opportunity. Maybe a test match I might not see it for full 5 days, but whenever I have time, I might even take a glance at test cricket to see how it performs. So I would say the only way cricket can be really improved is by improving the domestic system, because all the players who have come from the erstwhile era or who are coming now as well have had something to do with the domestic game. So nowadays, unfortunately, what has happened is domestic cricket is not given that much amount of importance at all. It is just seen as, you know, another...
As an example, Ranji Trophy you mean?
Anything, Ranji Trophy. it
No,
could
we
be-
need an example. So
Yeah,
that-
I give you 4 to 5
because many of
examples.
our audience may not be able to again.
No, I'll give
When
you
see
2 to 3.
domestic, they would not
No
understand.
problem, I'll give you 3 to 4 examples.
Yeah.
If our audience would like to have it, then that is Ranji Trophy is one, Syed Mushtaq Ali is one, then Vijay Hazare Trophy is one, Vinu Mankad Trophy is one. There are many.
There's something
many
called
trophies.
Pentangular Trophy. You heard it, sir?
Pentangular. No,
Pentangular. Only 5 states play anyway.
I haven't heard. Anyway, thanks
Just
for
I want
enlightening.
to. Yeah.
No, anything related to cricket is always fascinating,
Alright.
so thanks for that.
No problem, sir.
No, yes, I mean, like, you know, any of these formats, if they are improved upon and equal focus is given in, you know, drawing audience for this also. I have seen my father telling me that earlier days when there were no stadiums, there were Ranji Trophy games which were organized in Central College where he studied. And it used to be as entertaining as a test match was. So those days, due to various factors, hardcore fans of cricket would even go and watch a game, even if it was a 1 day or a 2 day game, to see how people evolved. So I would say cricket, there is a way to save cricket. One thing is improve the domestic system, where you give more focus to all these types of matches. And not only that, as you rightly said, graduation of players from a test match to a T20, and as we discussed some time back, that people from a T20 format may not find it interesting to go back to a test format. But here, my point which I would like to make is, you should even see that those very same players, whether they are international stars or upcoming stars, should also be in a position to contribute for their respective teams, even in these sort of championships. Only then you can save cricket, because when people come to see stars playing in domestic tournaments, then automatically they will also be focused towards an upcoming talent, and that's how the game of cricket will evolve. But only if you have a certain format in mind, like only a T20 or anything like that, then I don't think really T20 can even save cricket to that extent, because it is more towards an entertainment quotient, and people will start viewing it in the future also as an entertainment value itself, whether they understand the game of cricket or not, because there is an aura attached to it and there are many other factors. So people will be equally distributed to enjoy the other factors associated with the game also. So I would say that cricket can be saved if the domestic system is improved. I would like to stress on that.
Okay, so I think the last point from him.
Absolutely.
He says historically sports have come and gone.
Yes.
So will test cricket. So I'll just elaborate on this.
Yes.
He is saying gladiators, no?
Ah.
Of the 2000 years in it, Roman era,
Right.
where a man used to fight another man to death, or a man used to fight an animal to death. That was a big spectator sport in those days.
Yes, yes.
Today it is no longer.
It is no
gone.
longer there. Yes, yes.
So he says sports, any kind of sports will come and go. It has a lifespan. It will come and go. So you should not have any hard feelings if test is going to disappear. What's your thought?
Absolutely, I agree with him. You should definitely not have hard feelings, because there are many games, as you rightly said, which have come and gone, but or even they have had diminished values. For example, in earlier days, we used to play games like Lagori, or even something like you used to call it Gilli Danda in Hindi, where it was a very charming game. And but it was limited only for people to enjoy within ourselves, as you described cricket, when we had our own rules and all those things. So these games were also like that. And yes, definitely I would say that there should not be any hard feelings as such, because Test cricket, though it had its own value, again it is falling a victim of bad management, because not much is being done to save Test cricket. But
You are talking only about India or the entire world?
no, the entire
Globally.
world,
Okay.
globally, because there are many tournaments like this Big Bash and Caribbean Premier League, and after I think the IPL came up, each country started having its own league, like the Bangladesh Premier League or Pakistan Premier League. So in the era and in the time of leagues, I think probably one should also try to see that some more attention is focused towards Test cricket, because it will bring in players who are more technically prone to the game, like Test matches and all. But having said that, effort, if it can be made, it is well and good. But at the same time, if it dies its own death, then you should not be really worried, because Only test match has gone, but the cricket is still alive.
Okay, nice, sir. So you had now a couple more questions.
Yes.
Before we close the show. This thing.
Absolutely,
So
welcome.
you had some peeves about the ongoing IPL in Dubai, right? It's spectatorless,
Yes.
and it's first time I think cricket is being played without any spectators.
closed doors,
That is
yes.
number one.
Yes.
Second thing was especially you were saying that when they play the applause or the audience cheer as a sound effect, it was looking very stupid. Right? So you want to elaborate on that?
No, I really stand by that, because playing, artificializing something and naturally absorbing that, there is a lot of difference. And absolutely, if as a cricket player, for example, you would definitely not like to go and play before an empty stand, no matter whatever it is. So I have a strong disagreement with that. That the game of IPL shouldn't, first of all, when the world is going through the calamity like a corona, where many people have lost their lives and people are still struggling, and I have heard from one of my good friends that there is a second wave which has come already in France, and when it is so threatening, I think the board could have done well by completely cancelling the IPL for this year. And there is no point in playing an Indian Premier League in Dubai, because okay, I would have agreed if people in Dubai looking into the restrictions there and all those things, if they had, at least the audience would have allowed to come there and see. But what is the point in just artificially playing a cheering video and trying to motivate players? I as a player would never have got motivated. If I was in the IPL representing any team, and if I was an audio blast which actually gave me the impression that people are there and all those things, no, I would definitely not have got impressed with that at all.
But anyways, just to actually update you, sir.
Yes.
When it comes to IPL, revenue model, right? Only 10% is from stand ticket sale. 90% is from right sale and advertisement.
Advertisements, I agree with you.
Which is kept intact even whether you play it in Dubai or wherever,
Yes,
under
yes,
the sea
I agree
also.
with you. I agree.
Only the 10% people, this thing is lost. But what I'm saying, from using sound effects to create an appeal or an emotional appeal, right, in the audience, you think that is stupid, right? So that's not going to work.
That definitely is stupid. I mean, because this is
Like
a game.
for example, if CSK hits a 4 in against RCB in Chinnaswamy Stadium,
Yes,
crowds won't cheer.
absolutely.
Whereas there they'll play that
they will.
cheering. So it's not. It'll be incoherent.
No,
right?
no, it will be incoherent, because when I first watched the first match of this IPL, which was between CSK and Mumbai Indians, I was actually shocked when the stadium is empty. Where is all this noise coming from? Where the cheering and all is coming from? Then I went to the net and tried to find out what is happening. For my own curiosity, I just said, I just gave the phrase in the search engine: is artificial cheering sound being used in IPL T20? And there were loads of pages which agreed to that. Then from then, my interest in IPL diminished a little bit because of all those things.
No, but do you mute the TV now?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because I have. You might find it strange actually, but I have been a lover off late of cricket without any sound.
Oh yeah, big time. No, I'll not be surprised.
Because even if there is commentary and everything, it looks good to a certain extent. But finally, as a watcher, you would like to see how the players perform on the field.
Yes.
So many times, and that too, these days, one of the most worrisome and one of the most irritating facts is the duration of advertisements which come. Even after 5 deliveries, I have seen the 6th delivery not being even shown.
Right.
And there are a number of advertisements. Of course, the businessman would like to make a lot of money
And
out
that
of
is
it.
shown as a replay.
that
If
is
something
shown as a
significant
replay.
happens, otherwise it is skipped.
Yeah, skipped, and that itself makes you lose a lot of interest. So I mean, yes, the artificialization I really don't appreciate in the IPL at all. And once you call it as an Indian Premier League, I don't see why you should even think about going to another country and playing only to.
I mean, the organizers may be looking at it as a brand.
Yeah.
IPL can go anywhere, right? Like
They can-
make in
it
India
was-
kind of thing only.
It was played. The whole tournament was played in South Africa in 2009, 11 or something like
Right.
that. Yeah, I mean, yes, to the brand value attached to it, obviously they have to do that. But I, as an audience, would always love Indian Premier League to be played in India itself. or if it has not been played for certain reason for 1 year, skip it and
Right.
play the next year. And this year, definitely my feeling is that probably you should have done without it because of the amount of destruction Corona has created. I think if you had not played IPL this time, you wouldn't have lost anything.
So my last question to you, Sir Googly, to close this session.
Absolutely. I am really
maybe it
enjoying
leads
this.
to another session
No,
on same topic.
I mean, I am really. I feel sad when you said that to close this session.
Yes.
But yes, we have to
Yeah,
respect.
I
everybody's
just want
time.
to dig your brain on one thing. I want
Please,
to know.
I always allow you digging my brain.
Yeah, challenge you with one question.
Please,
For
I'll
which
do.
I couldn't find an answer. Maybe you can tell me.
I'll do my best.
So I give you a choice of two spinners.
Right.
You should choose who is the best among the two spinners.
That's it. Great
One is
question.
Shane Warne, other one is Muttiah Muralidharan.
Oh my god. I mean, it's really very difficult to choose between these two. They have been stalwarts of the game. But if you would like to have a result from me, I would say Muralidharan has an inch over one.
He's 1 inch over 1.
Yes.
Excellent, sir. Very nice speaking to
Thank
you
you
as
so
always.
much.
And
Absolute
we'll
pleasure.
keep in touch again.
And I am so thankful to you that you brought in one of my most favorite topics for today's discussion. And really, the questions were so thought-provoking and so interesting. And I hope I have tried to do some justice with the broken knowledge of the game which I have.
Oh, sir, you have played with some world-class players when you were in Canada. I know that. So
I have. But really interesting, and I hope we continue with such thought-provoking programs in the future as well.
definitely, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice
and have
day.
a pleasant Sunday ahead. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.